Sure.
So welcome back to Zombie SquadCAST, and in this episode I got Dwayne Sanchez, an old colleague and partner of mine for probably maybe 15 last. We were partners for quite some time, but me and Dwayne started working together on films and some music videos probably back in like 06 or 07 or something. So Dwayne's a fellow Towson grad, fellow film and TV graduate like myself, and I think you graduated before me, maybe a semester or a year before me or something. 03?
Yeah, 2002.
Okay, yeah. So I graduated in 04, yeah. So Dwayne, welcome to the show, and if you don't, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
I'm Dwayne Edward Sanchez. I'm a Marylander, but I made my way all the way up to Connecticut. Like Glenn said, I went to school at Towson. Kind of just, like I said, just drifted up to Connecticut via Baltimore, short stop in Philly. So now I'm here, kind of just trying to figure things out a little bit. It's a different state. We are close to New York, so like film-wise, there are some jobs there. It's just getting there. So a couple hours drive, and being in the city, then you got to find how to park. So
Yeah.
But known Glenn for a long time.
Yeah, man.
Known Glenn for a long time. Did some projects together. Still try to keep in touch. We both have babies now, so that's a little harder.
So how old is your kid now?
She's 2.5.
2.5. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
My son is it's 5 weeks. So I'm just starting out late, but still starting out.
Congratulations, man. It's fun. Everybody tells you it goes by fast. Believe it. Spend as much time as you can. I'm actually loving the quarantine because I get to wake up and play with my daughter until like she goes to bed. So, when you're at work, you're missing it. So there's all the little things that they say, and running around the house. You don't want to miss any of that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. Me and the wife have just been hands-on 24/7 with the kid, taking our turns, doing our best to hang out with each other, and still, we try to watch some shows with each other. But of course, the kid, being 5 months, needs constant attention. The feedings are every 2.5 to 3 hours, and I pretty much change the diaper right before the feeding. It's just it's constant. But yeah, I mean, definitely this is like you said, a unique, and I've said it myself a number of times, it's a unique opportunity to really get close and bond well with the kids, especially if they're young. Now if they were like 10 and older, then it might be a nightmare, but right now it's
like be a lot of yelling.
yeah, especially if they were maybe teens living at home still, high school kids or middle school kids, that might be a nightmare. But I think, you and I are still lucky where your kid's 2.5, my kid's 5 weeks. It's still like, they're still young enough to where they listen and they want to learn, and it can actually be fun to interact with them. What do you
definitely?
So, like, for example, what's some stuff you're doing with the kid? What kind of books or shows or stuff, or what kind of stuff are you teaching the kid at home?
Right now, she knows her ABCs with a little bit of help, but like she recognizes them. Loves books, so I put her down at night. So every night she comes into bed, we read a bunch of books. If I have her interest, half the time she's a tough girl. She'll get up, jump, and then just put a knee right into my stomach and then roll. So if she's if I see a lot of that, I put the books down, and then we do a little bit of tablet. I have a little kid's Fire tablet. There's like video games, but learning games. So I try not to have too much mindless stuff. I mean, I play a lot of video games on my little handheld thing, so I don't want her to be like me.
Right.
But no, she's constantly learning something, and she loves singing and all that good stuff, cartoons.
Awesome.
So we're in a good age of like technology where you can sift through all the crap that's out
Hell yeah.
there. I mean, I go back and look at like Barney and
Oh
just
yeah.
Blue's Clues and all kinds of stuff, and some stuff is great, but like it doesn't teach a kid a whole lot.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think, stuff like Barney, things at that level are for like, maybe first initial development, kind of like singing and speaking and maybe dancing and movement. But then as you progress, there is better thing, like Sesame Street, I think has always been top of my list as far as like, I can't wait to get my kid into Sesame Street. And they have a whole app now, on the Fire TV and on the PlayStation. They have their own app. So I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
we do the PBS app, and it's awesome. It's free, and you just download and download and download, and there's always new content coming up.
PBS app. Okay, great. So I guess we you tapped in a little bit about, you kind of actually taken advantage of this quarantine. How would you say professionally that you're impacted by the current state of affairs?
Well, being as I bartend, I have many jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So, and some of them, like I don't know about you. I know you do like a lot of contract work or freelance. I haven't done my taxes because I'm still trying to figure out miles and get receipts, and
Yeah.
so I have another gig that's alcohol or beverage related, where I'm a brand ambassador. I just do that once a week. I get booze out of it, and I get paid decently. So I have
Okay.
to track my miles and all that kind of stuff because they don't take taxes out. Every once in a while, I'll do Uber or Lyft.
Mm-hmm.
As motorcycles go by. So they somewhat figure out things for you, but you also still have to do your deductions and
Yeah.
whatnot. And then the bartending job, technically I'm unemployed. So all of us pretty much got the virus laid us all off.
Right.
So there's the owner and a manager that's pretty much, working the helms of the place, trying to keep everything afloat.
Yeah.
And they're doing carry out. So I'm just hanging out here at home, and I've dove into some more art, which I didn't have time for. In the past 10 years, I've gotten into art, got less into the craft of film, and I've gone back and forth with it. The struggle of like, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that?
Yeah.
But I've been able to paint a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
then dive into some things on my hard drive. Like, okay, well, can I finish this? Can I hand it off to someone? Stuff like that. So it's a struggle.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, trying to find the time, especially having a kid. Imagine if we were single and we were stuck in our apartment or stuck in our condo or whatever the case. I mean, I would just be obliterating stuff. But me and the wife, we got married over the summer, and she got knocked up right away. So got pregnant
You
right away.
wasted no time.
Wasted no time. When we got back from the honeymoon, she it came up positive, the pregnancy test.
Oh,
Back
okay.
from the honeymoon. So yeah, man. But if it was just me and her, I mean, it would be like hours upon hours of knocking stuff out, and then maybe dinner,
Yeah.
maybe lunch with her, like an hour and a half lunch, and then that 2 hour dinner and a movie, or 2 hour dinner and binge watch a couple episodes. But I'd be able to knock out some of these projects. But I think it's such a perfect balance for me, because it's like the kid, and I spend a few hours on this project. If I was to knock out this project right away, I wouldn't be able to go out and shoot more. So like the slow release, and then deciding to make this podcast, and like reaching out to fellow artists like yourself, fellow freelancers, and people affected by this, doing like these little things segmented throughout the day, and kind of like spreading it out, and then the kid, and then the wife, and then a little bit of a project, and so on and so forth. Where if I had run out of things to do, then I would just be sitting on the couch. My stuff's already done. I've got nothing else to do until the floodgates open, and then I'll just be watching TV and probably drinking myself into oblivion. Who knows? But Yeah, I mean, trying to figure out what little things that work here, work there, and I think we have a healthy balance with the side hustles and the passion projects and the hobbies and the kid, and trying to make money here and there the best we can during these times. Um, I mean, and again, you spoke a little bit about the time spent with your kid. If you want to go in more depth, how are you impacted by this personally?
It's as far as with my kid.
Well, personally, like
Or,
yourself, your family, your kid. Yeah.
I mean, I love being out. So as much as I like to stay home with my kid, there's also that side of me that is I've been a worker since I was about 14 or 15. So you give me going on about 3 weeks at home and not going anywhere, I get kind of antsy. And some days you feel like you're wasting. There's been times where I've taken a month, taken two months off of like working in a restaurant or working wherever I was working because I could afford it, and it was just by choice because I just
Mhm.
wanted to live a little bit and get things done. But even then, I'd wake up and then it'd be the next day. Like, what did I do? Like, oh, I went
Exactly.
to the store. That's all I did. So I did that like the first week or so, and then I started going, okay, well, when the kid goes down for a nap, you need to lose some pounds.
Hmm.
start working out.
Yeah.
Do just even without weights, do some stretch bands. And then this week I started adding just some 25-pound. That's all I have here, but 25-pound dumbbells to try to at least tone up. So like that baby fat catches you.
Hmm.
You don't have time to. I haven't played basketball in years. That used to
Well,
be my exercise. I haven't played soccer in years. That used to be my exercise.
yeah. When you say baby fat, you mean your baby fat or the new babies, the
well,
fat that comes from
well,
the new baby?
that comes when you can't. You're not as agile. You can't. You're stuck like doing this.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then you're drink. I will say Connecticut has some of the best beer up here. So I've dabbled in some of the nicer beers, but those come calories.
Yep.
Food's pretty good. Don't get seafood. Well, you don't get crab. You don't get crab cakes up here,
That
but no, they have some
sucks.
really good pizza and stuff. But yeah, if you're not careful, when you have your kid, you gain some weight as well. You shouldn't have any worry about that. I see you work out, so
Oh, ever since we brought the kid back, I think I've worked out. I think I'm steadily working out maybe 1 or 2 days a week now. I can't remember the last time. See, I got an app for that, and the last time I might have worked out like 3 or 4 days ago. I don't even know, man. What's today? The 7th?
yeah,
I
yeah.
think
It's the
today. I
seventh.
think I think today's the 7th. And if this tells me, yeah, April 3rd was the last day I worked out that I did anything. So I mean, because I've got some of the projects I'm trying to work on. I've been doing stairs though. We have a 3-level townhouse. So if anything, I've been rocking these fucking stairs, running up, grab them, feed them, bring them halfway down, maybe change them, maybe grab something else, take them back up, run all the way back down to the basement, work, edit, write, edit, uh, run back up. I mean, it's been stair central here in this house, but there's always a plus or a minus. So you were mentioning beer. What's your beer? What's your recipe? If you,
Well, I like IPAs. I'm not like
yeah,
I'm very knowledgeable in them, but I wouldn't call myself a snob. I'm drinking right now. I'm drinking a cheap lager from Aldi. It cost me like $6 for a 6 pack. So I've
nice.
drank Natty Boh in my life. So, but being around like beverages all my life, you get to taste like the finer things, some good, some you'll find out there it's really just a label. And just like clothes, they're the same kind of clothes but
Yeah,
different label, same kind of beer but different label. But there's some guys that take passion in what they do. There's probably easily like over 100 breweries just in Connecticut, and Connecticut's a pretty small state.
yeah,
Um, and they have a different style. Like I living in Maryland and around Delaware and Virginia, like all their IPAs were kind of like the West Coast style. So like hoppy and floral and bitter, whereas these IPAs up here are hazy, juicy, fruity. So you get a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'll grab one and I'm like, oh, this is good. And then I'll find another beer and I'm like, oh, this is just as good. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, it's like beer heaven.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely become a beer snob myself, especially IPAs. It's pretty much the only thing I drink. And especially double IPAs, hazy IPAs, like citrusy
Yeah.
IPAs. Maybe not so much any other kind of fruity IPA, but definitely like the citrusy or the hazy or the double, like the really strong shit. And I like high octane. So I'm definitely a beer snob in the sense that I as far as a beer snob, like knowing this, that, and the other thing, like, oh,
Yeah.
hops versus something else. No, hops versus wheats or whatever the shit. I don't know. I don't know that.
Yeah.
I'm just a snob because I can't now. I now can't go back to a Miller Lite or a Natty Bell or a Bud Light. You know, it's
Yeah.
got to be at the cheapest. It's got to be like a Goose Island double IPA.
So like with the Natty Bows, I drink out of novelty. Like when I do come down to Maryland,
Oh yeah.
I'll grab like a 12 pack or 6-pack just because I love that it's Maryland, and I you know, I even have a Maryland flag out, you know, in the yard.
Mm-hmm.
So people are like, "What's that guy doing here?" You know,
Yeah.
in Connecticut. But you know, I drink some stuff out of novelty, but I can't drink. I don't really don't like Miller Lite and Coors
Yeah.
Light. But
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
you know, TechFall and his brother Brian, they still chug Mick Ultra and Miller Lite and Bud Light, and I'm like, man, we're too old for that shit. We're a little bit more sophisticated. If we got a wife and kid, you got to drink a little bit more. And when I say the champagne of beers, I don't mean Miller High Life. I mean like a
oh,
good.
I can drink that though.
God damn.
When I was on a budget,
What,
I first
on a
came
budget.
to Connecticut. It was you know, definitely hard to find a job. It took me a while to find just a simple job up here because all my references are from different states. So it took me forever. Luckily, I had, you know, I got a car and was able to, you know, and I hadn't had a car in 8 years. And I got rid of my car in Baltimore City
That's right.
and just like city lifed it. And if I had a gig, I would take my gear with me, hop on, you know, light rail or hop on whatever, or get in a cab. I've had backpacks, 2 backpacks with me, hopping into a cab and going to a show and shooting, you know, getting there just in time. The guys have done their sound check. I set up, boom, start recording.
Yep.
You know, that's how I used to roll. But, you know, living up here, it's like, okay, nobody knows me. I need work. Who's going to hire me?
Yeah.
So yeah, but back to the beer, I was on a budget, so I used to drink a lot of like High Life.
Yeah, man.
And it's sometimes Tecate, which is just god awful.
Oh God, I haven't had the pleasure yet of trying Tecate, but going back to another thing you were talking about, you know, working out. Yeah. Well, yeah. My brother moved to Seattle maybe 5-6 years ago, and he's got a Maryland flag out in front of his house, and people say the same thing, like, "What the hell is that?" And say, "Man, I'm from Maryland." He just loves talking. He always every time he bumps into somebody from Maryland, he'll text me about it. Like, I just met this dude from Maryland. I saw, like, you know, somebody might drive around with Washington State plates, but with the Maryland flag kind of
Oh, the plate holder, the
the
vanity
plate
holder, whatever it's called.
the frame or the plate holder, yeah. And so like he'll like flag him down, like, yo, come talk to me or some shit like that.
I've been close to doing that because I see him up this way.
Yeah, man. So
But yeah, I'm sure I get on people's nerves. Like, you know, bartending, you talk to people, that's you build a rapport. But it's almost like I want to be like, shut up, Dwayne, because I'm sure like my coworkers probably, you know, like, oh God, this guy, all he talks about is like Baltimore or Maryland or whatever, because customers will ask me something. And I've met plenty of people that lived in like Canton or Fells Point, or at least visited there. I met someone that was from like Annapolis. I met someone that lived in Cockeysville, like just so random of places where I lived. I used to live in Cockeysville.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay. And you just strike up a conversation with them.
Yeah. So is there any passion projects or things in the works because you're an experienced screenwriter, an experienced writer, director. Is there anything you're working on, kind of outlining? For me, there's a number of things that I'm kind of outlining and writing in preparation for the floodgates to open, and then it's like, okay, pull the trigger on this project, pull the trigger on that project. I know you're an artist. Are you banging out some paintings?
Paintings, I'm working with what I have. Like I'm starting to reassess. Like, as an artist, you can look at many things the same way. Like film, I can edit a film or edit a music video 3-4 different ways, and then still come out with something. You're like, oh, I could go in another direction with that. So it's kind of the same with painting. I will paint over something multiple times, and I'm just like, well, I don't know what I'm doing here. It feels like I don't know what I'm doing. It's just not clicking. And there's other times where I could sit down with something and just paint something in 2 hours. I'm like, oh, it's done. So I don't paint. Like I couldn't paint your face. I could try, but it's not going to look like your face. I'd rather take a picture of it.
Mm-hmm.
I do abstract, so I just let my work tell me when it's done. And if it doesn't look done, I just paint over it. Film wise, like I've been digging into the hard drive and trying to scoot some things along, try to hand some things off. There's music video that I filmed many years ago, kind of got way over my head with. These guys are probably not even a band anymore.
Okay.
But I really want to finish it just
Mm-hmm.
because I spent so much time on it. It's a project we worked together with that's been probably like good 12, 13 years old. It's crashed
12.
Multiple times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
12. I've put some of the best clips to the side, trying to get all those together and then send it off to a buddy that said he'd work on it.
Hell yeah.
And hopefully get a decent edit. So that's what I did with my first film. I didn't have the means to edit, so I got all the good clips, sent it to a guy that lived in Philly at the time. He spent about 3-4 months on it, sent it back to me, and then I cleaned it up, and then I went from there. So that's what I'm hoping to do with this project, and with Drip, and try to get everything together, because I've put a lot of pain in that.
Yeah.
And and I'd like to see it done, because everybody did a lot of work on it. So
Oh, yeah.
But the direction of it, I have different plans for the direction of it, because I don't like the finished product. I've looked at it like twice over, and then I don't know. I'm not trying to be hard on it, but it could be better. It could be better, but I feel like editing it could be better.
That's the understandable position that you're in as the writer director. We worked on that together as a producer. I was your DP and your producer, and so the way that I would produce, the way that I produce, and the way that I AD is I try to, for lack of a better word, pamper the director and the writer, and you were both one and the same person. But it's like I know you have a vision for it. You want it to be the best product. As a producer, I shot it, so I want my cinematography out there, and I want something to show for it. And I'm pretty sure I did a pretty good job shooting it for you. As a producer, I want a product, but I know I've even made offers like, hey, let me take it from you, let me edit it, and you said no, and I totally respected that, because it's really your baby in a sense that you wrote it, and then you directed your writing, you directed your own script. So it's like, look, this may take 15 years to finally finish a 25-minute short, but it might be a phenomenal fucking short because you took your time, massive amounts of patience and recutting and changing things up, and then maybe passing it off to someone else to edit with your notes. But it probably would be better for you to go to a much more experienced editor than even myself, because there's a number of things that I'm able to edit well, very well. But in this case, you as the creative mastermind over the whole thing. Me, it's more of like a technical mastermind over the whole thing, but you is more of the creative. It's like your idea you might find an editor out there that has a reel and his previous work just fits your taste way better than maybe my work does. And so
Yeah, I think age and experience kind of comes into play, where you
yeah,
start looking at things and be like, well, was this? I don't want to compare it to a student film, but I look at things and I'm like, well, would this compare to a student film? Like, because if I were to sit down and rewrite the film, it would be a lot different. There were some holes that I didn't fix,
okay,
or some dialogue and stuff like that, and that's where some editing can clean that up a little bit.
sure.
But yeah, it's just try not to think too hard on it, because I've done so much more work in the past 12 years, and I look at that as like a learning experience, and like, okay, well, don't ever do that again. We wrapped that baby. That was like 9 days in 45-page script.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think 45 pages.
Something like that.
Maybe so. I think it was a 9-day. I think it
Like
was
45 pages.
okay. Yeah. I mean, it's been a while, and I would tap in. I would check in once in a while. Just doing my due diligence as far as a producer goes. But like I said, I'm not going to be one of those producers that just, grinds out a writer director for like hurry up and make a rushed cut or what have you. I mean, especially if based on our limitations at the time, more time needs to be spent in post to make it live up to your idea, because there probably needs to be way more work done in post and editing and in sound and like doctoring this, doctoring that, to make it to make it measure up to what you had in mind based on our limitations during production. So yeah, that's awesome, man. And I'm glad you, like a lot of others that I've had on my show, are finding ways to stay productive and use their time wisely, because my big thing is, take advantage of the time that we have here in the quarantine, so that when the floodgates open, it's like start spitting stuff out. You can even spit stuff out online. Film festivals are all doing virtual film festivals right now. Some of the conventions and some of the festivals are postponing, but a lot of them are doing virtual film festivals and virtual conventions now. And now's the time, especially with YouTube or Vimeo, all the other streaming services, we can still spit stuff out that we shot before the quarantine. That's what I'm doing, editing my projects. Got a bunch of other colleagues, a bunch of other guests of mine on the show are doing that now. They're finding different hacks to finish their shows, to finish their projects, quarantine hacks, stuck in the house kind of hacks. And I mean, I'm sure you've seen some of the commercials, some of the PSAs where there's famous people shooting themselves on their cell phone, and then that's getting probably uploaded to Dropbox and editors splicing it in. And that's the commercials we've been seeing for this past month, because people are not gathering onto a set anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I've shot my daughter with this. I have an iPhone 11, and it just looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've taken some portrait pictures, and I'm like, wow. I just got rid of my Canon not too long ago, because I really wasn't using it. It was one of those, if it's going to sit there and collecting dust, then I'm not worthy to just let it sit, and collect dust. So I gave it, I sold it to someone that was actually going to use the camera, and right now it's not really worth much. So cameras you can buy, but having a piece of equipment just sit there is no use. But shooting
Absolutely.
things on my iPhone is just ridiculous. Much better, and some of it's just much better quality than the Canon I did have.
Yeah, there was a feature film, I think, when the iPhone 4 just came out. There was a Korean feature film shot on that. Soderbergh shot his feature film Unsane on the iPhone 8 Plus, I believe. I mean,
wow.
with the iPhone, not even other smartphones, I think with, Samsungs or Androids, people are able to pull off, incredible product with these smaller, more compact, upgraded devices. And you know, I've been telling people, you know, it's not what you have, but what you do with it, you know.
Yeah, your lenses come into play, the framing, you know, all that good stuff. You can have the best camera in the world, but if you don't know what you're shooting, then you really don't have anything.
Exactly. I mean, just take a look at Battlefield Earth. And it was like a huge budget film, and it was just things of that nature. So yeah. So you know, while we're all trapped in the house, what is one film or maybe a series of films or a series that you've been binge watching, or even some books that you've been reading that's kept your mind off things, change your perspective on some things during this time, uplifted you, what have you? I mean, is there a series or a film that you've seen lately?
There's some things that I try to wrap up, like Better Call Saul. I just not restarted, but I just caught up with it. So I'm on season 4. I know they were doing season 5, but the way I watch things, I just bang it out. So there's that, because I loved Breaking Bad, and then Ozark. I just finished the 3rd season of Ozark, which is amazing. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. If you like Breaking Bad, it's kind of similar to that, but in a money laundering, aspect. Season 2 wasn't my favorite, but it had enough meat to push this season, and this season was just phenomenal. Like the twists and turns and the fear of people getting killed, and just I don't know, it was good. It was good.
I've seen. Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
And then just movies that I hadn't gotten around to it. Like, I haven't been to the movie theater in a long time, so I miss a lot of stuff that come out. I used to do the Oscar pools when they would come out, and I try to see if I was get them right and whatnot. So I've been wanting to see Joker, and I was kind of let down when I saw it.
You were let down, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was. I would say it wasn't a bad. I don't know if it's just being overcritical or picky, but I thought it was a good film. I just didn't like it as a Joker film. I felt it would have been better in the realms of like The Machinist, or it had that vibe, and then it was too much of that Taxi Driver. I know that's what they're going for, but too much of that Taxi Driver type of just kind of copy and paste, and just there's just certain things I didn't really like towards the end. Like, I thought it should have been more menacing than fun. I don't know, there's some things that I've changed them, as having a daughter and being around kids and stuff like that I kind of don't want to promote anymore. Like, as far as like when I still like horror films, but growing up I could watch just when I was a kid, I could watch the worst things on film. That's fake or whatever. Then now I'm just like, well, is it necessary? So is this necessary? Do I need to see this? Does the writer, or the producers, the directors, why do they want to show me this? And do I have a use for it? So, I mean, like I said, it was a good film. Joaquin Phoenix was outstanding. But as far as how they wrote the scripts, it just, I don't know, it just didn't cut me in a good way. It's just, it's not a film that'd be like, oh, I want to go see that again. I love De Niro, but I didn't like De Niro in this.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I mean, I get some of the criticisms. I mean, for me personally, I thought it was an outstanding film. It really blew me away. My problems with this film are much different, because I'm like a MCU kind of guy. I'm a Marvel Cinematic Universe kind of guy, and I'm a DC Extended Universe kind of guy, where I want them to make a property that they can build on. Whereas I'm getting a little sick and tired of the one-offs, and I like the idea of a cinematic universe. And I know that maybe somebody just wants to make one movie, but what's starting to annoy me is like, which Joker is this? Does this Joker count in other films? Are we going to get like a 3rd and 4th and 5th and 8th and 20th Joker? They're all different backgrounds.
Like a Spider-Man all over again.
Shit, right? And so, I mean,
I don't really watch the Spider-Man movies. I've watched the Tobey Maguire ones. I tried on
Yeah.
the what's the Hardy or whatever his name is
Mhm.
in some of the other ones, but it just I don't know what they're doing to that character that I just don't like Spider-Man that much.
Well, they're just
But
well,
back to Joker.
yeah. Well, no, you're right, because with the Spider-Mans, they just won't give up on a property, and they just keep trying to spit shit out instead of stopping and thinking, and how can we make this accountable for something? How can we make this uh, a property or a franchise that will matter? Because Kevin Feige pulled it off with the MCU, and every character counted for every other character, and then into a bigger scheme of things, and then those characters might have ended their careers as the hero. In the story, they ended their careers, and because in real life, those actors were like, "I'm done." But Kevin Feige was smart in saying, "Listen, if you sign up, you're signing up for 5-6 things, because that is what we're building."
I
Whereas,
feel like you handcuff the actors a little bit because I've heard stories of like actors signing on to do, like you said, 1 or 2 or 3 different films, and then they get the script and they're like, "What the heck is this?" Like, like good example, Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey was wasted in the Superman movie. Probably wasn't the
yes,
best Superman movie, but like you look at it and you go, "Man,
yeah,
they really ruined. They terrible."
right. And so, and going back to that one, that was supposed to be Superman 5. So that Superman followed that was a sequel to the Christopher Reeve movies. That was the same embodiment. And you're right, and they biffed it 20 years later. But and you I'm sure you're right about actors being handcuffed to this franchise, to this never-ending gig, like maybe Chris Evans was, and like maybe Robert Downey Jr. was, maybe like Scarlett Johansson was, because I think she had a kid within the span of her MCU career. But that is, I'm sure Kevin Feige, as the founder of Marvel Studios and the creator of the MCU, is letting them know up front, listen, you're going to be tied in for what, 10 years? You're going to be tied in for a while, because we're this is a series. It's almost like a big budget cinematic series. And I've had people critique me, like, why are you such a fan? How do you follow this? And I'm like, if you can watch 8 straight seasons of The Office on Netflix, you can watch the MCU, because it's probably the same amount of hours.
Yeah.
All of The Office, all of the MCU. It's probably the same amount of hours. Maybe watch only 30 minutes of each movie. Maybe only watch an hour of each movie, then pick it up. It's just like watching a series. And so when you have Man of Steel, and then Batman v Superman, and Wonder Woman and Aquaman, and then Justice League, and then things start falling apart, and DC's like, well, we have this TV show that doesn't count. It's a totally different universe. And then we're just going to make a Joker movie that doesn't count in a whole nother universe. And then, Warner Brothers jumps in and conflicts with DC. But see, Marvel Studios is Marvel. So Marvel knows what Marvel is, whereas Warner Brothers has always been the media outlet for DC. But it doesn't seem like Marvel knows how to carry DC. They've been doing it for so long, but they should know better. They should know that, let DC do DC. We'll distribute it. But when they start muddling it up and like firing a director, bringing in a whole new director, making a whole new movie, and it flops, and then they're like, okay, we're going to start all over again. It's like, fans don't want to fucking see that shit. Fans want to know who the hell the Jared Leto Joker was. And now you got a whole new Joker. But
Yeah,
that,
you keep switching actors. It confuses some audiences,
mm-hmm,
whereas other audiences are like, okay, well, what is this guy going to bring to the table? Like I said, I thought the movie Joker was good.
mm-hmm.
It didn't hit me from like a story aspect. If they make another one, I feel like they could really go all out. They could really go out and really make this an awesome Joker story or whatnot, and
Yeah.
maybe tie some other characters in, and you really could see like how he got from here, like a guy with issues,
Mm-hmm.
mental issues, to just guy just tearing up Gotham.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, there's talks of a Joker too, but which Batman is it? Is
I
it
would love to see Christian Bale come back and act alongside with Joaquin Phoenix. I don't think it would
but
happen,
which
but
but that wouldn't be the same Joker because is the Joaquin Phoenix Joker the Heath Ledger
yeah.
Joker? Or because this Joker's grown up when Bruce Wayne is 12 well, he's got to be 12 because Bruce Wayne's parents were killed when he was 12. And they showed Crime Alley. They showed the murder of Thomas and Martha Wayne. So whatever, fuck. I'm moving. I've had this conversation one too many fucking times.
You.
No, it does frustrate me. It really does. And I've had this conversation one too many times on this fucking show that I would have to have an episode just for this conversation.
So I don't want to skip too far ahead, but there's these guys from Connecticut that do a podcast. They're it's like Nerd News Happy Hour. So they talk a lot about a lot of that stuff too. If you want to link up with them somehow, that would be cool. But when I was doing a demo at a store, I met one of the guys that does the show. They also feature a new beer every show. So they talk about current events and talk about comic books and all kinds of stuff. And they talk about beer at the end. But yeah, the way, so I don't read comic books. I do watch the movies and I try.
Yeah.
I kind of pick and choose. Like I'm not really. I'll probably will get around to see Ant-Man, but it just doesn't have like an interest to me. But I know all these movies are like related. I've tried to watch Iron Man 3, but it's not. I just got bored. I've tried to watch Captain America, the first one. I want to see the second one, but I feel like I have to see the first one. But I watched about 25 to 30 minutes, and it didn't stick to me. So I don't know if the action or whatever was building up really hit you in the last hour and a half. I don't know. So some of these things I just got to give a second try.
Yeah. So the beauty of with the MCU, the individual movies, each character has its own kind of genre. So the Captain Americas are like espionage films. The Thor movies are these adventure battle films.
Goofy.
There's always some goofiness into it, but they're like these adventurous medieval type of films. The Iron Mans are like these counter-terrorist type of movies. Black Panther is kind of like a super warrior type of movie. They all have like their and then the Ant-Mans are always heist films. So each of these films are kind of made in like specific genre ways: heist films, espionage films, warrior adventure films for Thor's, super tech war movies for the Iron Mans. But and then of course when they make the Avengers, they make Avenger movies like maybe every 3 or 4 years. That's like this big ensemble, global. Who's that? Roland Emmerich type of global impact type of films. You know, Independence Day or those kind of like epic global impacted type of films is when all the Avengers get together. And so it depends on your taste. So if you like heist films, Ant-Man is your film. If you like espionage films, Black Widow and Captain America are those are your types of films and things of that nature. So, but yeah, there's a whole lot of meat. There's a whole lot of product out there to catch up on.
Well, we have Disney Plus, so I'm gonna get to most of it.
Yeah. I just got that too, and I got it for the dumbest reason. The second The Mandalorian came out is when I got Disney Plus immediately for The Mandalorian, and I wasn't disappointed. Like,
yeah, I got about 3 episodes into it. It's good. I don't have time to. I'm gonna fit that somewhere in all the things that I'm trying to watch now. But yeah, it's pretty good.
It was definitely worth it. It was definitely worth the binge watch, and it's like it ended too soon, and there wasn't enough for me. I'm like, go ahead.
Did you see the Servant on Apple TV? I don't know if you have Apple TV. I got it free for a year. But
about the baby.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen the Apple TV films yet or series.
Yeah,
The
it's
film,
actually
they're just
pretty
films,
good.
right?
I believe so. I think they may have a series, but The Servant is it's about the baby, but it's M. Night Shyamalan related. I'm not sure if I don't think he directed anything. He may have produced it or written some of it, but it's pretty good, and it's kind of good for him because there's some things that he zigged and zagged, and you either love his films or you hate his films.
Yeah. I think for the most part, I've loved them. I mean, I loved all the Unbreakable trilogy, the Glass/Unbreakable trilogy. But I thought it was amazing. What was that Unbreakable, Split, and then Glass was awesome. But yeah, I mean, you know, like you said, I read comics for a couple of years when I was younger, maybe like from age 12 to 14. I dabbled in actually reading comics and trying to collect comics. And maybe 10 years ago, I sold, maybe more like 12 years ago, I sold all my comics and made a sweet chunk of money from that, and then invested it in projects and stuff like that. But yeah, ever since, I don't know if you remember X-Men on Fox, the X-Men animated series on Fox is what I got into, like the cartoons. It was easier than reading. Just watch the cartoons, watch the movies. And then
Yeah, I don't have access. Well, I could get access, but at this point, it's just it's another hobby to get into, and I've kind of gotten the cliff notes from comic book friends.
Yeah.
I've had friends that like have stacks and stacks and stacks of comic books, and then I just use them as a reference. I'm like, oh well, who could beat Thor? Who could beat this guy? And you're like,
Right.
oh, yeah. Thor wouldn't be able to beat the, it would just tell me all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm like, okay, I believe you.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So, I guess, I'll move on to my next point, which would be what would you, and you kind of delved a little bit into this, but what would you say is your next agenda, your next goal or set of goals, next set of plans for say the next month or two, if we're probably still going to be quarantined for the next couple of months. What would you say your next agenda or goals or plans would be for the next couple of months?
Next couple of months, I mean, the way it's riding out, it doesn't look like it's going to get any better if people don't, stay their butts home. I look at the CDC for every, the states that I care about. So like I look at Maryland, my folks are in Maryland, and I look at how many people contracted or have cases and how many deaths and so forth. I look at Baltimore City. I look at my state, and I look at it, I'm just like, well, unless they get a vaccine for it, then we're going to be in the house for a while. So I don't want to sit, I haven't gotten it yet, but I don't want to sit home and collect unemployment if I can work. So just trying to find a job that I can sit home and work,
Yeah.
and try my best not to go outside because, having a kid and bringing it back in and just worrying about, if it's going to show up in my system 13 days later, 12 days later, 14 days later, and then that means everybody else in the house is sick. So I don't want to have that happen. So just trying to find something that I can do at home and make money. I would love to be a stay-at-home dad, but also make money.
Wouldn't we all, man? That'd be,
or be able to
awesome.
Take my daughter, on the road with me, not dangerous, but like, go to a cafe and, have her do her thing and me be on a computer or, talk to people on the phone, stuff like that. Just easier than, slinging drinks and stuff. I love to craft. Definitely love to craft. I've been reading, bartending books and cocktail books, and I've been reading flavor books. Like I'm a pretty good cook, so like love spending time in the kitchen. So like I just would love to be able to wrap up all my talents and my craft and, be able to put all those together.
What's that? A mixologist? Is that what you call yourself? A mixologist?
I'm a bartender still.
Okay. What? So what?
Yeah, I like the craft of mixology, but like I've definitely have met people that are just way above my grade, and I'm just like I can't.
You don't make your own. You don't make your own bitters.
I don't make I would like to, but I don't.
That's that's an inside joke.
I,
I think, but no, go ahead. What were you gonna say? What was your?
I do like making syrups. I like making things
Okay.
that, like, if I don't have to buy it, I'll make it. And then if I'm drinking, I drink mostly beer, but if I'm making a cocktail at home, I like something more than just having a shot or something on the rocks. So, I made a pineapple honey chamomile syrup, and it was pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
I mixed that with a bunch of stuff, and it looked like it came from a bar. Um, I've made like oat milk recently because I don't feel like drinking up, my daughter's milk. So I made milk out of oats. So, and it tastes pretty good. So it's that little things like that keep me busy and keep me creative.
Okay. Yeah. See, I don't have my bottle of vodka, but I make one of the most unique drinks ever. It's 2 parts LaCroix and 1 part vodka. And it's really cheap Ghibli's vodka. It's about $10 for that big plastic jug. And so you pour a little bit of vodka and a little bit more of LaCroix. And that's a professional mixologist's recipe right there. The vodka soda without lime.
So, and sometimes you forget the LaCroix.
Sometimes. Do you know what a quarantini is?
No. What's that?
A quarantini. I don't know. Someone sent me a link. I didn't even look at the recipe because the first thing I saw was tequila, and we don't have tequila in the house. So it's a tequila drink. Someone, people are making like quarantinis and it was a bad joke, but there was like this Tex-Mex place around here that was having Corona bulldogs. And so a bulldog is like a margarita with the upside down Corona in it, and they were calling it, instead of calling it a bulldog, they advertised it as a Corona bulldog. And there were some bad reviews on the site, like, dude, don't do that. Just call it a fucking bulldog. Just keep it like the way you called it. It's a sort of well-known Tex-Mex place around here. But yeah, we've been getting a lot of margaritas in the jugs. Like the takeouts are like giving you margaritas now. So
it's the stuff that we wish would have happened before all this. Like, people like there's a cocktail bar, a speakeasy I used to go to in Baltimore. Those guys are way above like what I do, but I used to go there for a couple of cocktails and they just blow my mind every time. But they're making bottled cocktails to go, and then they'll put like a little thing on the side that says pour this over ice and then use this garnish, and it'll be like a dried orange peel or whatever it is. It's like crazy.
Yep. There's a number of places, and going back to, you mentioned a lot of breweries in Connecticut. I feel like in the last 8 years, microbreweries, I think liquor license laws have changed, and maybe something to do with, how the government controlled the moonshining and how it progressed into like who can make beer where. And then all of a sudden, I think like 9 years ago, you've got all these restaurants that now brew their own craft beer, and it's like 1 million different IPAs from 1 million different bars around here. And so it's the first thing, back to being like a beer snob, what's your IPA? And I would just be like, Rock Bottom's IPA or Tiber House's IPA, and all these different places in Montgomery County and Frederick County, all these different breweries and restaurants. And so and now they're starting to, before you'd have to buy a growler, and now they have these plastic growlers that they're selling for takeout. And it's
we have a canning machine at work, so we have 20 taps. And so if you and the place I work for is called At the Corner. It's amazing. They have 20 taps. Our bar manager picks a lot of good beers. He knows most of the brewers, the actual brewers, not just the people that run, just the brewers that make the beer. And so he gets some pretty good beers just, all the time. So you can come in and you can get any of those beers to go. You can get them canned.
Hell yeah.
So like you may be able, I think you probably, because I saw it in Philly, and I think I did see it last time I was down near Ocean City. Two Roads is from Connecticut. They make a good beer.
Okay.
So you'll probably be able to get your hands on Two Roads. They have Little Heaven and Road to Ruin. I'm not sure of any other Connecticut beers because they're, it's all circulates within Connecticut, just like some of the beers or breweries in Maryland. You try to sell what you can to the locals and then kind of spread out from there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I wish I could send everybody some of these beers, but I don't know if that's possible.
Well,
but speaking of liquor laws, that's why I lost my train of thought. The liquor laws are different here. So as far as breweries go, I miss what Maryland has, and you can have a brewery and a restaurant like Evo down in Salisbury. My folks go there all the time. My brother goes there. They make the beer there, and you can eat there. Here it's different. You make the beer, you have nothing to do with food. You can bring in a food truck, but you're kind of limited to what that food truck has to offer. Or you have to be certain feet from or yards or whatever it is from the brewery to be able to sell food. So it's just like, you want to sit down and have beer and eat. You can't just go to a place and just keep drinking. You're either going to get sick or have to call Uber or kind of wait things out. So I wish they would change the laws here. But yeah, I think governors or state, whoever legislates this stuff, are seeing how much money they can make off these breweries. So, I mean, once you get going, the brewery pays for itself in a year or two, and you're starting to make you're making profit.
Yeah, so there's a brewery me and the wife went to a long time ago, and they don't do food. So it looks like a big bar. Let me see if I can pull it up here. You go in, it looks like
Flying Dog doesn't have food. If you need to take a trip out to Frederick, Flying Dog, they bring in food trucks. They bring in like about 3 or 4 food trucks.
Yeah, and so this place that we went to, I don't think it was Flying Dog. What the heck is? So Rock Bottom, it's a brewery. They also have food. It's all in the same building. Oh, I'm kicking myself in the head right now because I can't remember. Jailbreak. So
okay.
Jailbreak in Laurel, phenomenal brewery, but they have a food truck in the parking lot. And some places, so here in Maryland, it's like 50-50 because I think you're allowed to pull it off based on the structure of the brewing facility within the establishment, or if the kitchen's on one side of the building and those big vats are on the other side of the building. I don't know what the laws are, but I think it also depends on what the business wants to pay for. Like, do they really give a shit? Because Rock Bottom was a restaurant, and I think they had a bunch of space to put vats in. So they probably started brewing later, whereas Jailbreak was always a brewery. So I don't think they ever gave a jack shit about food.
Yeah.
Just get some food truck out front. Maybe we'll charge them, like.
Well, you also takes the other stuff out of hand, like the cost of building a kitchen, maintaining certain licenses, having having health department come in there for inspections.
Yeah.
Like Oscar Blues was very homegrown when they first started. I think they're owned by maybe Anheuser or something now, but when they first started, they were in another, I think a southern state or Alabama or something like that. Okay. They were a restaurant, and then the guy started making beer at home, and then he started putting beer in the restaurant, and the beer started selling. And then they were like, oh, well, we can brew this beer and sell it outside of this restaurant. And then they made a brewery, and they actually have their own cattle. So they would butcher the cattle, sell the beef at the restaurant, and it was just its own ecosystem. Yeah. And then when they make the beer, the grains that they use for the beer, once they were done with that, they were still usable. It'd give them to the cattle, so it just circles around.
Like that wet mush afterwards, they just fed it to the. Yeah. Okay.
Yep, there you go.
Okay. Yeah, man. All right. Well, aside from beer and liquor and booze and drinking, if you could, what's one point or one piece of advice, even one word that you would leave our viewers with?
Just stay safe, because I watched. I've been pretty, without being paranoid. I'm pretty much a realist. Like, just looking at what's going on, and just people not minding what they're told. Like, you guys are on pretty much lockdown. We aren't here, but I look at some of the towns here, and every day I'm like, how? And this is a town that's about 20 minutes away from me. North of me, they have no cases whatsoever of the coronavirus. And they're surrounded by other towns that have 4, 5, 10 cases. We just got up to about 32 in this town. So if you look at that, that was like 2 weeks ago.
Jesus.
Somebody was out sneezing on stuff or whatever, or, spreading it around. And then next week, there's probably going to be like another 60 or 30, 60 people that are going to have it. So you start looking at these peaks and like, okay, well, it starts, and I'm starting to look at it. I'm starting to see a little pattern forming, like 2 people this day, 6 people the next day. It's just like, boom, boom. Where do these people go? And why weren't they in the house? Like, what were they doing? They knew 2 weeks ago that the virus was out there, but they just decided to go, oh, we're going to go to Home Depot to get some paint because we're bored.
Right. I mean, nobody doesn't know.
Common sense is the word to use. Common sense. Just use common sense.
Well, listen, nobody does not know about this, but I think people being stubborn, and it's like, yeah, but I can make a quick run to the liquor store. I can make a quick run to Home Depot. I can make a quick run to the grocery store. Then they get there and like, man, I don't feel like putting on my mask and gloves. I'll just run in there real quick. I'm not.
Or they're taking their mask down to talk.
Why are you taking? Yeah, all right. Fucking stupid, man. So I don't know why anybody would be doing that, but yeah. I mean, like, common sense. Scotty LP, I had him on a couple of nights ago. He said, "Don't be a dumbass." That was his point.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yours is pretty much more, stay safe. Just stay at home. You don't need to paint that wall right now.
I mean, there are people that need to be out there because they're essential workers, and those people I feel bad for. Even the people, so they're like, okay, well, there's unemployment's going up, but you can get a job at a grocery store. It's like, where's the virus? You're probably going to get the virus in a grocery store because there are people going out to get food. The person that's about to drop my food off from Instacart, we wipe down the food because we don't know. They're out all day picking up other orders. So we wipe the food down or the packaging down before we actually like put it away, just in case, you don't know if they sneezed, if they wore gloves. Like, gloves are actually worse in a certain sense, because if you do get it on your hand, then you're touching everything. If you're touching things with your bare hands, just use like whatever that stuff is that they could barely find of it, antibacterial stuff or
hand sanitizer, Clorox wipes, all that stuff. I mean, we do the same thing. We wipe it down, but here's the problem is we don't know the person dropping off our Instacart. We don't know if they have it. The problem is, even more so, they don't know that they have it.
Yeah.
Until maybe a week later, they start showing symptoms, but they could have gotten it and then passed it right on to us.
Yeah, and they're out there like, oh, I feel good. This stuff's a joke. Like, I'm going to make all this money off of, like, I don't know, 10 deliveries today, whatever. They make some money, but, let's say 7 days down the road, you get a sore throat, then you're dizzy, you start getting headaches, and you're like, oh, crap. It's a little too late then.
Yep.
And all that money you made is, not worth your health.
Yeah. And even worse, there are people dying from the coronavirus that never showed symptoms ever.
Yeah.
There are some cases.
I think the Prime Minister of England has it right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I think so.
There's been some like older athletes that got it and died, like a kicker in the NFL. Set like a 65-yard field goal record. Like, he died recently.
Stay safe.
Yeah, stay in.
Stay inside.
Don't
Watch
be
out.
a dummy.
Don't be a dummy.
You
Well,
big dummy.
yeah, exactly, man. Well, are there any links, any socials, any plugs you want to put out there?
Just people I've been following, like the Nerd News Happy Hour guys. They should get some love. I'm sure they're bored. There's a podcast that they're out in LA. Two of the girls went to Towson. Kim and Ketrin, they do a show. It's about horror films. One of them watches the film, the other one doesn't, and then they have to do like kind of like a survival type of thing. So they'll be told the story, and then the other one has to like guess what the character would do, but also what they would do in that situation, and they get points for it. It's called Kim and Ketrin Stay Alive, maybe,
Okay.
but it's a KK Sam's podcast. I might have that wrong, but yeah, it's worth it. They've got so many different episodes now. I think they've been around for about a year and a half. But yeah, I went to school with Kim, and I loosely know Ketrin, but Kim was in 2 projects that I worked on.
Okay. Awesome. Any socials of your own?
Yeah, chocolatemiLkArt.com. That's where all my artwork is and stuff. I don't think I have anything up for sale right now, but you can take a look at my art there. So.
Awesome. Well, Dwayne,
And of course, your production.
Oh yeah,
pictures.
Oh, I'm about to put that out in a second. Don't you worry. I do that. I do that. I do that every episode. Yeah, man.
Let me leave you some room, like right here. right there.
There it is. Okay.
Put it in my hand, right there.
Nice, nice, man. Well, Dwayne, thanks a lot for joining me. I can't thank you enough. I'm glad you're safe out there. I'm glad you and your daughter are safe and staying productive, staying positive. And to my viewers, thanks for checking it out. Like, subscribe, share, comment, thumbs up, please, as opposed to thumbs down. Ring the bell for notifications and check us out next time.
The subscribe button somewhere. Right there.
It's right there.
It's a subscribe button.
That's it. All right.